Hello, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News, our special inauguration edition of our show. What a great show we have coming up. We're going to talk about gun control policy, and we're going to talk about what's going on in social media and how you can influence outcomes and all the issues that matter to you. But there's some breaking news from the Republicans in the House. They just finished a 3-day conference in Williamsburg, Virginia, and the Republican House members have decided that they are going to sign off on raising the debt ceiling for at least 3 months. This is essentially capitulation by these House Republicans, and it follows, again, something that President Obama stood extremely firm on. The president said earlier this week that the debt ceiling, which has always been raised in the nation's history, the debt ceiling assures the full faith and credit of the United States, that is something that is not to be tinkered with, that all the debt ceiling does is it signals to people around the world that the United States will pay its obligations. It will pay the money that it owes, and Congress had threatened to hold the debt ceiling hostage to try to force some spending cuts, and Republicans finally decided maybe they should back off. Perhaps it had something to do with a firm position that President Obama took this week. Here's President Obama on Monday at the White House.
And Republicans in Congress have two choices here. They can act responsibly and pay America's bills, or they can act irresponsibly and put America through another economic crisis. But they will not collect a ransom in exchange for not crashing the American economy. The financial well-being of the American people is not leverage to be used. The full faith and credit of the United States of America is not a bargaining chip.
The polling showed that Americans overwhelmingly supported President Obama and the Democrats, and as the president, as Democrats were able to remind people what the debt ceiling was and what it was not, those numbers started to move even more in the Democrats' direction. Again, here is the key point that President Obama was trying to make.
Raising the debt ceiling does not authorize us to spend more. All it does is say that America will pay its bills. And we are not a deadbeat nation.
We are not a deadbeat nation. And will we be a deadbeat nation 3 months from now when this issue rears its head again? Well, a couple of things that also came out in all of this. There have been a number of Democrats who have said, look, instead of just having this argument, instead of the president saying Congress has to do this, the president should invoke the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which requires that the United States pay its bills. Or there was this idea that had been floated and had gained some credibility, and that is that the president, that the Treasury Department should mint a coin made out of platinum and put on it $1 trillion. In other words, there's an obscure law that was passed to help coin collectors about 10 years ago, which said that the Treasury Department could mint a coin out of platinum and designate whatever value it wanted. So even if the coin only costs, say, $100 to make, the Treasury Department could put whatever value it wants, and that the Treasury Department, according to some, should print out $1 trillion. And then the Treasury Department would give this to the Fed. The Fed would essentially use this, deposit it in the account of the United States, and thereby, voila, the United States has an extra $1 trillion. This issue was raised by a number of people on the left, several economists, and then suddenly it was shot down by the White House. The White House said, no, we are not going to do this. There's simply no way we're going to mint the coin. There's no way we're going to invoke the 14th Amendment. And again, President Obama said that the solution to raising the debt ceiling is clear. Listen.
There is no simpler solution, no ready, credible solution, other than Congress either give me the authority to raise the debt ceiling or exercise the responsibility that they have kept for themselves and raise the debt ceiling, because this is about paying your bills.
It's about paying the bills, and this is also about a victory, at least a short-term victory for the Democrats. Again, keep in mind, a lot of Democrats were urging the White House, use the 14th Amendment, issue this platinum coin, use whatever sort of trick or you can to sort of get around the Republicans in Congress. And the president said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take any sort of sidestep. There is a simple solution here, and that is Congress must pay its bills. And in staring this down, the president got pummeled by, White House reporters who were saying, well, wait a second, why should we believe you're not going to negotiate when you've negotiated on things before that you said you weren't going to negotiate on? And shouldn't there be some sort of discussion? And the president said, no, there's no discussion. There's simply none. The debt ceiling must be raised. It has always been raised, and that is not something we're going to have any discussion on. And the Republicans suddenly were facing a choice. Do they continue to sort of hang in and say, well, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling unless and until the President of the United States and the Obama administration start cutting some government spending? Or if there are, as an overall budget that's reached. But the Republicans basically, they punted. They got together in Williamsburg, Virginia, and said, you know what, there's no way this can work for us. You had folks like Newt Gingrich. You had one of our guests, John Feary, who were suggesting the Republicans should not fight over this because it jeopardizes the economy of the United States in such a way that we could end up costing our government more by not raising the debt ceiling than we would in terms of continuing government programs. And that to the extent the United States continues to spend more than it collects, that number, that deficit would be magnified, would go up if the worldwide economy suddenly starts to slow down or goes into a recession, which is likely what would happen if the United States defaulted on its debt and investors started pulling money out of U.S. Treasury bonds and investments and whatnot. So Republicans backed off and they said, okay, we're gonna push this off by 3 months.